Welcome to Building Birmingham Together, a show about Birmingham's business leaders, successes, failures, and lessons learned to encourage you to remember that dreaming is free, but the hustle is sold separately. I'm your host, Kim Lee, founder and CEO of Forge. Building Birmingham Together is brought to you today by Forge. Forge is Birmingham's first professional co-working space located in the heart of downtown Birmingham at the Pizitz Building. With private offices, open workspace, as well as meeting and event space, Forge is the place where small business owners, entrepreneurs, and remote workers come together, meet new people, and get work done. If you would like to find out more about Forge, you can visit our website, workatforge.com, and schedule a tour directly on the website. Today, I have Cindy Martin with me. Cindy is the founder and president of Bham Now, and most recently, Birmingham Bama Buzz.
Yeah.
Birmingham, Bama, it's the
Too
bees.
close. I know.
Bama Buzz, yes. Bham Now is Birmingham's modern media company, helping to make our city better, smarter, and more healthy. Bham Now provides news, information, and camaraderie for the modern Birmingham by publishing content to help educate, inform, and entertain the greater Birmingham audience. They are very passionate about promoting local companies, nonprofits, products, and events. So if you are not following Bham Now at the next red light, because I know most of y'all are driving, listening to this, follow them on Instagram so that the next time you see a post or a story, you can then be reminded to go subscribe to all of their content, all of their feeds, because you will stay informed and read so many great stories from Bham Now. So Cindy founded Bham Now in 2016, and the team has grown now to over 30 employees. And I love anytime that I get to be around Cindy because I feel like I soak up so much wisdom from everything that she says. And I'm sure the same will be true for you today as you are listening to this interview. So, Cindy, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Kim. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, this is great. So, I do have a little insider of Bham Now because when Forge opened in 2017, one of Cindy's first employees, I don't know where he was in the rank, became a member at Forge. And then slowly more and more and more of the Bham Now team were members at Forge until they grew so big that now they have moved on to their own office space, which we do love it when companies grow and have to leave us because they've grown, but it also makes us sad. But we got to watch Bham Now almost from the beginning and then really grow. So it's been so fun to watch you lead your team and grow your company.
Forge was a great place to get our team from, and it fit us just perfectly because our team was in and out, and it was flexible, and it was right in the heart of downtown, as you know, and it was perfect for us. And yeah, we just kind of outgrew the space, and when we got up to about 15 folks, we're, oh, okay, I think we need our own space now. But we do a great job there.
Well, it always makes us happy when folks from Bham Now come back and visit us when they're in the food hall. So y'all are always welcome. So Cindy, I'd love to start off just with you telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, just sort of family background, and then we'll get into what led you to where you are now with Bham Now.
Sure, I would be happy to. So I grew up in Bessemer, Alabama, when it was a sweet urban area outside of, as you know, right outside of Birmingham. But a lot of steel plant workers made their homes there. And my parents lived there all of their lives and went to college at Alabama. I was given no choice except roll tide. And it suited me pretty well, but my dad encouraged me to major in engineering because math and science were some of my best courses. And so I majored in mechanical engineering, and then I stayed at Alabama and got an MBA. And I was really torn about what to do, whether to stay in state or leave. And I decided to leave for an opportunity with AT&T to join their leadership development program, which would move you around to different places and put you put you in difficult situations and just see what you're made of. So it was, I had some interesting learnings. First job was on midnight shift in Orlando, Florida, supervising about 15 data center technicians, and they were mostly men over 60 years old. So,
And you were how old?
I was 24. And I
Oh,
survived. And you know what? They were so nice to me, Kim. They could have really had a field day with me
yeah.
because I didn't know what they were doing. And they could have really thrown me for a lot of curveballs, but they were very generous and very sweet. And I still remember the kindness of a lot of them. So that was a learning experience. And
Wow.
midnight shift is not something I ever want to do again.
No, that's amazing. So now was that in the field of engineering, or see, every time I talk to you, I also learn something new. Like I had no idea that's what your major was in college.
Yeah, so really it was management because
Okay.
I was immediately in a management role.
Uh-huh.
And I used some of the engineering just understanding how the things worked. So I never really had the desire to work as a desk engineer, a
Mm-hmm.
professional engineer, as they call it, but it was a good backdrop degree for
Mm-hmm.
really whatever you wanted to do afterwards because it was really hard.
Oh, I bet. Yes. Oh, my nephew is in school for engineering, and I just automatically feel like he's smarter than me.
Well, and what I discovered is it's really not about the smartness, it's how hard you work. You
Mm,
can't, some of the smartest kids didn't make it through engineering because they didn't want to do the work. And it was a lot, it was
mm-hmm.
6 or 8 hours of homework a day. So,
Yeah.
I got my teeth cut pretty early on about
Yeah.
digging in and working hard.
Well, and what a great lesson for any area you want to go into.
That's right. Yeah. But business school was just the opposite. Business school was social and it was fun and parts of it were challenging for MBA, but most of it was learning people skills,
Mm.
learning how a business works, and I found that really valuable as well.
So then I don't want to gloss over this, although I know this is not what we're here to talk about, but I think one of the coolest facts about, and I don't know if this first job at AT&T led you to the next job at AT&T, but you were on a team that built at AT&T that built one of the first search platforms, which is so cool and amazing.
Right. This was, way back in the late
Meh.
late 80s, early 90s, and AT&T launched the very first dial-up service. So you might have been around long enough to know what dial-up is,
Oh,
landline.
oh yes.
I was on the team that got that going, and it was really a lot of fun. I never worked in their telephony side of the business, which is kind of really by choice. I was more
Yeah.
attracted to what was new.
Uh-huh.
And the internet just grabbed me, and I thought there is so much that you can do with instant communication through
Mm-hmm.
the internet. I was enthralled. And so then I jumped and I went to a startup in California called Magellan.
Yeah.
And we were one of the first 5 search engines on the internet. And we had the famous, at the time, star rating system where we would rate different content on the internet. And we came really close to going public and, buying islands somewhere.
Yep.
But another company, Excite, bought us. They were a
Mm-hmm.
bigger engine at the time. So it was crazy times in San Francisco. And it was very exciting. It was also very challenging. It was 7 days a week of work. And some people were in it purely, as you would guess, for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Money's never been my top priority. It's certainly
Mm-hmm.
important, and I don't want to undermine it,
Right.
but learning and really loving what I do is more important.
Mm-hmm. So before you founded Be Him Now in 2016, it was not the first news slash media company that you had founded. You also founded, or were the founding president, did I say that right, of AL.com, which everybody listening to this knows what AL.com was. But I can only imagine it was so different starting a media company back then than it is now. So what was it like starting this brand new online media company 16 years ago?
It was very different than now, as you would probably guess. And, my parents being in state were a big draw for me to come back.
Mhm.
And honestly, when I moved away, I didn't think I would ever come back.
Oh.
As I've heard that from a lot of other people too, but surprises happen in life and opportunities come up that you don't expect.
Mhm.
And I got a call from a very large media company out of New York and said, "We're thinking about starting a digital media company in Alabama, and you're from Alabama, so that might have been, the big connector there." Um, but I gave it hard thought, and my parents, as I mentioned, were a huge draw for that decision that I do not regret.
Mhm.
And it was a lot of fun from a business perspective to get to start it out of my house for the first few months and attract the first employees. And we set up shop in Huntsville, was our
Uh-huh.
first market. And then we opened offices in Birmingham and Mobile and eventually in Tuscaloosa and Auburn. Had a fantastic team. We had a team that grew to be 60 and continued to grow the company over those 16 years. So made a lot of connections through the state and really fell back in love with the state of Alabama.
So now when you started AL.com, was there any other online news publications for Alabama?
I'm pretty sure we were first, or we were almost first, Kim. The
Okay.
newspapers were not allowed to have their own websites that were owned by the same company.
Oh
So
my.
the Birmingham News, the Huntsville Times, the Mobile Register were all owned by this large media firm.
Uh-huh.
And so our site republished a lot of their work
Uh,
and also did original work as well. So we had a partnership going right into it that gave us a huge benefit, as you would guess.
So was there any pushback from the traditional media news outlets with y'all coming in and doing something digital?
There were a lot of eyebrows raised, and I will say that the business and myself got mixed reception, as you would probably guess,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people see the internet and digital as outplacement. You're going to get rid of our jobs. And the
Mm-hmm.
truth is technology changes things. And if it's not this company, it's going to be another company.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, we received a lot of mixed reception, and that was a big thing to work through because
Mm-hmm.
usually in a job you're used to people being receptive and working with you, and there were challenging times there, but we had a great team and excellent partners, so we made it.
So then what led you to go from building this business to, I know it was a very large business that y'all built in the end, or in the end of your time there, to wanting to start all over and do it all over again?
Right. That so some people think that that's nuts. And what you hear, and a lot of it is true, is that media is an extraordinarily difficult business.
Yeah.
It's not difficult to build, it's difficult to monetize and to make
Mm-hmm.
a profit on. So that is one reason you don't see a lot of media businesses or startups. Most
Mm-hmm.
all of them are owned by extremely large firms based
Mm-hmm.
in New York or California or who knows where.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking for that next thing because the the trend of what's coming has just always been interesting to me, and how businesses and its especially media evolve. So I had kept my eye out for what's next and
Hmm.
what could be next. And about the same time, you probably remember 2015-ish, Birmingham started going through a renaissance.
Right.
Avondale popped out of the dust. The Barons moved their game downtown from Hoover, and people said they were crazy.
Yes.
Railroad Park started getting polished up and planted, and events started happening. And a lot of the naysayers still didn't believe that
Hmm.
it would be converted to a healthy, relatively safe place to hang out and have fun.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't see another media putting their arms around this energy and this new birth of Birmingham. And, and it wasn't any fault of theirs. It's because they're very busy covering crimes and house fires and Alabama and Auburn football. And
Which is very important.
Roll Tide, War Eagle. It's
That's
very
right.
important. Yes, we cannot live in this state without football. However, I thought there was an opportunity to cover exciting and new and topics and ideas that could help inform and invigorate people
Hmm.
about the place where they live and about the opportunities. And I saw a couple of other startups in other parts of the country. Billy Penn popped up in Philadelphia, which
Hmm.
was independently owned, and Charlotte Agenda was born in Charlotte. And I talked to their owner, and I thought, gee, if somebody's going to do this, it could be me. And I felt honestly that internally I did not have a choice.
Mm.
That is how strongly I felt about it. I absolutely loved a lot of aspects of my former job and career, connecting with people, helping people, inspiring through technology and creation. And I thought, I just need to do it because so I tried kind of vegging out for a while and that didn't work. I
I
painted
can't
my
imagine why.
2 or 3 times and I tried to relax and it's just not. So I wanted to put myself towards something that would be good for Birmingham
Hmm.
and that would create good jobs for Birmingham because as we all know, media jobs have been slashed
Right.
for many years and a lot of people out of work. So, I had multiple levels of desire and the why behind it, but I honestly thought that there was a need here to
Hmm.
really focus on this energy.
Hmm. So now tell for the few people who haven't read any of Be Him Now's articles or follow y'all, tell us a little bit about what's different about the way that you write or your mission behind what you're writing than a typical media outlet.
Sure. So, number one, we're all digital.
Hmm.
So, we don't have a legacy model that we have to worry about. And there's a lot of
What is that? Can you tell? I'm sorry, not in media here. What is a legacy model? What does that even mean?
so a legacy might be a print
Okay.
product, a magazine, a TV station, a billboard.
Oh, okay.
We didn't, we were born fresh and
Hmm.
completely to make the most of digital platforms. And so we didn't have to worry about taking care of another model that was already in process, which many, many media companies they're having to worry about their former business model. So
Right.
there was a lot of freedom just to say, if we were to clean the slate, how would we build this? And how would we build it for the audience? And so that it would be really used um, and shared with people. All digital. And I think, one of the undercore strategies is that we do have a very strong audience in social. because you've got to have very strong social media these days. But we're not just that. We have close to 200,000 social followers now, and one of the highest engagements on social. And I'm sure you know what that term is.
Right.
Um, However, part of our strategy is to also build through direct traffic and through the search engine. So we are a verified news source,
Mm-hmm.
and our content pops up through Google. And the majority of our traffic doesn't come from social
Mm-hmm.
to our website. So, I think that's a differentiator in just the thinking and the process of how we were built. I'll also say that we try really hard to be purely authentic. And what do I mean by that? So, we don't have syndicated content that someone wrote from Chicago. We don't carry Google ads, which are network ads that float through the site. And you're like, I didn't feel bad about my neck until I saw that ad. So we want every single aspect about Bham Now and the Bama Buzz to feel like it was written just for you.
Right.
And we write with a tone that should feel like your next door neighbor is sitting down and going, Kim, did you hear what is coming to Birmingham? You have got to check this out.
I
So
love it.
we want to be your next door neighbor. We want to be informal. We want to be informative and accurate. We will source our data. But why not be fun, right? We don't have a big corporation saying you cannot be fun. You cannot be funny. You cannot be fun. You cannot be sarcastic. Nobody's saying that.
Yeah.
So we encourage our team to have fun and to entertain when that's appropriate.
So was it difficult, or is it not was, because you have new writers, I know a lot coming in. Is it difficult to train your team to write like that when they've probably been educated and written for so long in a different mindset?
It is. And, we found there's a transition period where our new employees will usually say, well, we will get something and it will sound like a press release.
Uh-huh.
If we sound like a press release, we're dead because that's just not who we are.
Right.
And there is definitely a retraining and a freedom that we encourage. And I will say it takes a little time to get folks to write just like they talk and how they have a conversation. Because you're right, Kim, we're taught in college, do not do that.
Right.
Do not use slang, do not have carry on sentences, do not use the dots. But in real life, that's how you talk sometimes.
So once you committed to doing this, started to identify your vision and your mission and started to get things going, was there any point along that path that you thought, what have I done? Why am I doing why have I gotten back into this? Or was it all just go, go, go positive the whole way?
I would say, the only downside for me is that I've dragged my husband into it. And, so it's what you both talk about all the time.
That's true.
And as you probably well know, when you own a business, you don't ever really go on vacation.
No.
You might be away somewhere, but you're on call. And not once have I regretted it. And I knew the investment level monetarily and personally that I would need to put in on day one. So there is no regret, but there are challenges, as we all know, when you own and create. In that those first couple of years are pretty brutal.
So when you told, I'm sure it was a ongoing conversation, but when you started talking to your husband about wanting to do this, what were his reactions to it?
Very supportive. We and I'll share why. So I got a bid on building out Bham Now's website from a local
Uh-huh.
firm who I respect a lot, but I will not mention their name. And I came home and I said, yep, they can do it. And it's going to be, like $85,000.
Oh,
And
it's so expensive.
yeah. And so immediately my husband's face changed and he said, let me see what I can do this weekend.
So did he develop the first Be Him Now website? I did not know that either.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing when you start your business, the skills that you're like, nope, I can learn that.
That's right. Oh, it's true.
You're
Yes.
like, nope. And eventually you get to where you need to and you can hire and support all these other local businesses. But at the beginning, it's like, oh no.
You're so very right. And then sometimes it's hard to let it go.
Yes.
You get
Yes.
habits and you're like, okay, well, I can do this. I can run our whatever account or I can do payroll or whatever. But yes, and I think, having that flexibility and that desire to, you do what's needed.
Yeah. We have a new intern and she was asking me a question. I was like, oh yeah, I can do it. And I just went in on our website and did something. She was like, you know how to do everything. I was like, well, that's part of the problem. Part of the problem.
As you know, it saves you a lot of money in the early
It,
days.
it does. Yes. Okay. I want to switch gears just a little bit because one of the things to me that is very obvious when you look at the Be Him Now team is when you see the team as a whole, most of your team, I know that it's not categorically true, is very young. And so I know there's a lot that goes into having a team that's younger. And so I would just love to know about that. Like if you started with a desire to build a young team, or that's just who was attracted to you, and how that there's so many questions to learn from you about that. But I would love just to hear a little bit about your team.
That's a great question. And, when I think to our beginnings, it was finding people who understood what we were doing and were flexible and affordable.
Yep.
And the young folks were the ones that applied.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's how that happened. And in new media, it's really important to be flexible and to be able to work on Instagram today and tomorrow do something on TikTok or Facebook or write a story using WordPress and know how to optimize your story for SEO. So, those are just examples of how we need flexibility in our team.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that to be really important. And, when we put the job descriptions up, 9 times out of 10, it's the real young folks that apply. And I think it's because they understand it. They've been using it. They're the digital generation and they grew up with a phone in their hand. They're comfortable with it. And I learn a lot from them. And, we have discussions many times about what do we start next, or how much energy do we put in one social channel versus another. And I listen very carefully to their opinions because they are heavy users of a lot of the media.
Mm-hmm.
And, you see the transition of media as it continues to, and it will, as we know, continue to evolve. So it keeps you on your toes. But visuals are so important.
Mm-hmm.
Visuals are as important as the text in most situations, unless you're writing a long form essay of some sort or study with a lot of research. So finding that talent has just naturally, I think, attracted a lot of young folks to us. And it's fun. I love the energy of our youngish team. And you're right, we've got a handful. We've got 5 folks that are middle-aged. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. Definitely middle. It depends on, we don't know where the end is, so we don't know where the middle is, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Well, so tell me some of the things that you've learned about leading for other leaders out there who are listening to this, what you've learned about leading this team that's maybe different than the way you've led other teams in the past.
And COVID threw us for a loop. And so that's what it made me think of when you're asking about leading young
Mm-hmm.
people, because I think mature workers, they've been around the block a couple of times and they typically can focus on work
Mm-hmm.
kind of regardless of maybe whether their friends are around them or whether they're getting some social benefit out of the job or they're not having that coffee with so and so. And I will say, COVID has been challenging on our team because the folks in their 20s put a lot of emphasis on the social side of the teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know it's been extraordinarily hard on them
Mm-hmm.
to continue to plow through, to do their job, to write, to produce, to take photographs and videos in the past year without getting together with their coworkers or friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know that there was an answer for that. There was a period where we had video calls every single day, and they might have absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
But they're in that weird, really stressful period, like probably almost a year ago now, last
Yeah.
May. We felt that it was important just to see people and to feel that communication and interaction. And hopefully that helped a little. But having the camaraderie with young people, I think it is much, much more important than it is for middle-aged folks. They're thinking career development, income, and yeah, if I make a friend or that's great, but I've got my life. I've got my
Right.
house, or I've got my kids, or I've got my whatever. So to me, that's like the biggest takeaway. And thinking early on of how do you help develop an environment that fosters that.
Mm-hmm.
It might be, planning outings every week, or it might be what you also find is sometimes the young folks want to go out without those. So,
And that is fine.
yeah, right. So just giving them permission to goof off a little
Mm-hmm.
and have those impromptu get-togethers. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it really helps their motivation.
Well, and one of the things that you do so well is you really take the opportunity and the time. I've seen you put in the time to invest in your team to really grow up leaders in your organization. Um, so can you tell us a little bit about your philosophy behind that, or how you do that, how you see that as your role as the leader?
Let's see. We do have some real budding leaders in Beham now. I can't wait to see what these people do
I agree.
in another 10 and 20 years. And I think, looking for leadership attributes early on. And I will say that I've learned to be more patient too, because when you hire somebody who's very young, they might not be, they're still growing and we
Mm-hmm.
all are still growing. But
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes you have to give them a little bit of, a second and a third chance and coach them and let them know, um, really talk openly about a situation. But I have seen some of these young people blow me away with their tenacity and their dedication to what they're doing. Um, and it's a little bit intimidating because you think, okay, we're just not like needed anymore. But it's also builds my confidence that there are people right behind us who can carry this ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I do look for opportunities to train them. We're sending a young lady through the Momentum Upward class
Oh,
this year, and we encourage civic involvements, and we will give time for volunteering.
Mhm.
Someone has a nonprofit that they support in Birmingham. So um, community involvement is really important to our mission and to who we are. And so we do want to help foster that through our team and give them opportunities even beyond Be Him Now. It
Mhm.
might be leading a board of young people, or who knows, eventually they might take a job with one of them, which isn't always the outcome you want. But if we're helping to populate future leaders in the community, then I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I love seeing just the impact of some established companies in Birmingham and just to see where their workers have gone and are now growing bigger companies. And the same thing is happening with BHAM now. Like you're just raising up great people to go and build more businesses and do greater things in the city. But we've mentioned this before. You've had Be Him Now, and I do want to say this: y'all are coming up on your 5th anniversary, which is so exciting. And I'm sure, in a way, it seems like a long time, but in a way, it feels like it was just yesterday. So congratulations on 5 years. That's amazing. And I know some of your team has been with you from the beginning, which is even more fun to celebrate with them. But just in time for your 5th anniversary, you added on another brand with Bama Buzz. So tell us just a little bit as we're wrapping up, what led you to want to expand from just Birmingham to cover the whole state?
So it was really market demand. We had several clients say, "We just love what you're doing with Be Him Now, but we want more of you." We're expanding to Montgomery, or we've got an office in Huntsville, and so we gave it some thought. But I actually thought from the beginning that we might expand out. I wanted to really prove the concept in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
And so with those clients' desires, we started hiring across the state, and we've got a bevy of folks. A lot of them, as you mentioned, they're young people and they're learning, and I think this will be a good learning opportunity for them, and it's also a good growth opportunity for us. But the Bama Buzz is 2 months old, and we've already got 20,000 or so social followers,
That's
and
amazing.
we had a story last week that blew the top off, as we like to say, of the server. And we've got, I believe, 8 sponsors behind the Bama Buzz. So our clients are part of our strategy. We don't
Mm-hmm.
see our sponsors as a thing on the side. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
their topics, their missions become Be Him Now's topics and Be Him Now's mentions.
Mm-hmm.
About 30% of the content is sponsored by local firms. And so that does impact the mission and the flavor. But we do make that content within the Be Him Now tone. So just like Be Him Now, the Bama Buzz is going to be fun, but it's going to be informative, and it's going to be a connector.
Mm-hmm.
We want to connect people with their interests and their hobbies and nonprofits and businesses. And we think that Bama Buzz is off to a good start. So thank you for asking about that.
Well, it's very exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, so I have 2 last questions for you that I try to ask every guest on the show. So the first one is, the title of the podcast is Building Birmingham Together. I just love the concept of we're all actually, even though we're doing our individual things, we're all leading Birmingham in a direction, and I like to think we're building it, making it better together. So what role do you see that Be Him Now plays? How do you see Be Him Now taking a part in this role?
I like to think that we are really helping to promote local even more.
Mm-hmm.
And we try really hard to be true to our mission about helping our area be better. And, what do I mean by that? I mean, there's things that we don't cover, and I think the other media have it covered in spades. And, if you're wanting whose house caught on fire last night or what car wrecks are blocking the highways, you're probably not going to come to Be Him Now. If you're looking for volunteer opportunities for where you can get out and volunteer this summer, you will look for Be Him Now. We're about to publish that any minute now.
Oh, great.
We connect local people with local businesses and local nonprofits and each other. And, through the pandemic, as you would guess, a lot of our revenue went away. About a third of it was event-based. And we decided to open up free promotion for small businesses and nonprofits. And we have a directory, and it's real easy. You just go in and plug in a little information, and we will be constantly changing and toggling the fields that you can add. So during the pandemic, we had curbside pickup, and we still have home delivery options, but we have room for specials and deals. And the idea there is to give access to everybody and to not just be a platform for the 5 wealthiest companies in Birmingham, but local companies and local nonprofits are what make our community tick. So we have 914 entities that have signed up in the directory, and it's growing. And we pull content from the directory and we republish that. And again, that's just totally free. And it's something we felt compelled to do during COVID because we wanted to save and help as many small businesses as we could. If I could have handed out tons of cash to them all.
Right. Yeah.
But in lieu of that, we thought, what do we have? We have this huge audience. We have 313,000 people a month that visit Be Him Now. It's 45% of the millennial population in greater Birmingham. And that's our main body of audience target. And we thought we've got the power to bring them business. So, that hopefully has made a small difference, and we will continue to do that. And also just working on the marketing and communications with our clients and helping to hone that in a way that really resonates with the greater Birmingham and the Alabama audience.
Right. Okay, so last question is, and I just love hearing these. It's a little selfish asking these, but just a lesson or two that you have learned along the way in business, leading organizations that impacts the way that you do business every day.
I think, a couple of things come to mind. One is the adage of seek to understand. And, with any business, whenever you've got more than one person, you're going to have problems. You've heard the rumor, if it weren't for people, it would be great.
That's right.
Where you've got people, you're going to have problems. And when you have disagreements or hurt feelings, there can be an immediate tendency to withdraw and to avoid it or avoid that person because it's uncomfortable. And if you can gather up the courage to face it and face that person and face the situation. Now, sometimes it doesn't solve the problem. Sometimes problems are beyond what you can fix. But I think a good-hearted attempt and try and an honest attempt to understand the other perspective and why it didn't go right or why the person didn't do what they did and try to rectify it. I think that you might call it leaning in or going toward the problem instead of away from it. That's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned.
Okay, so now I have 2 quick questions that we have not discussed. So I think they'll be easy for you. Actually, one's probably going to be tricky because of the nature of your job. But the first question is there like a top business leadership related book that you recommend for people to read?
The one that's, I think, the low hanging fruit is the seven, seven habits of highly successful people. And you've probably read that one. You've probably memorized that one, Kim. And that's Zig Ziglar, right?
Uh-huh.
I read it like eons ago, but
Oh
it
yeah. It's
still
tried and true.
stays in my mind. And, I think the first statement that, he begins the book with, "You're at your funeral," which sounds really sad, but if you can start a project with the end in mind, and what do you want that outcome to be? And this can be true for an employee review. Going into a review, especially if you have someone who has some issue, what do you want the result to be? You want them to turn around and get it right. So to me, beginning with the end in mind is a very strong statement that just underlines a lot of what we go about doing in life. So, that book is very powerful. And I'm a big fan of outdoor adventure books. And I think that there are leadership lessons there. Into Thin Air, that's one of my favorites, John Krakauer.
Okay.
And I love it because it's not directly about business. It's really about human beings, but business, and businesses are human beings until we're all run by machines one day. And it's about tenacity and how you treat each other, and seeing that mountain can be a lot of different things.
Right.
Climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. So I would have to say those are my two.
Okay. Now here's the tricky one. Because we're in Birmingham and a lot of small businesses in Birmingham are food related. Where do you and Cliff love to go to dinner? Where's your favorite?
Oh, it's actually
One or
easy.
two. Oh, good. Good.
Easy. Chez Fon Fon, hands down.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan. You go to Chez Fon Fon and it feels like you're in Europe somewhere in a cafe, and the service is amazing, and every bite of food is perfection.
That's right.
And that coconut cake is to die for.
It is to die for. It is very, very good. Well, great. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for being with me today, being with us here on Building Birmingham Together. And really thank you for the work that you and your team are doing at BHAM Now, and just the exposure that you're bringing to small businesses and nonprofits, making the city more fun for its residents and bringing awareness to what's going on. So thank you so much. And this has been great.
Well, it has been fun, Kim, and thank you for the invitation. You're doing great things too, and we're happy to have you right here in Birmingham with us.
Well, thank you.